A few years ago, I found myself in a cycle I didn't even know I was in. I remember one specific night, I was at a party, trying so hard to be everything for everyone, saying the right thing, smiling at the right moment, trying to essentially be perceived as that perfect girl. On the outside, I looked like I had everything together. My career, my grades, my life, my friends, but my entire life at the time was all based on needing external validation. At the time, I was essentially surrounding myself with a lot of surface level friends, trying to seem like I had a lot of friends, but I really didn't have a personal connection with any of them. And on top of that, I was pursuing a degree where I was just trying to please my mom because it's a stable career. But even though I had it all together, it seemingly looked like I had it all together, I didn't. And I was literally at the lowest point in my life. After that party, I remember sitting in my car and I just looked at myself in the mirror and I said, why am I doing this to myself? Why do I keep subjecting myself to other people's opinions that actually have nothing to do with what I want to do, who I want to be? And I realized that I've been giving away my power this entire time. I was outsourcing my worth to people who couldn't even give it to me, even if they wanted to. If you've ever felt this way, that no matter how much validation you've gotten, you never felt like it was enough. If you've ever felt this way, this video was made especially for you. Hi, my name is Jasmine, and this channel is all about helping you evolve into the woman of your dreams, build a life that you love, and fully step into your main character era. In this video, I'm going to be going through how to stop living for approval, how to detach from external validation, and how to feel worthy from within. And trust me, when you learn this, everything in your life will shift. Your confidence, your boundaries, your energy, literally everything. The changes will start really small, like your confidence, your energy, and then it will shift outside of your life to the friends that you attract, the kind of people that you meet, and the kind of opportunities you end up getting. I've also included chapters for this video, so you can skip around if you need. You can also find the timestamps in the description below. And if you're somebody who is ready to do the real work, not just watch, but actually transform and implement everything I'm talking about in this video, I create free worksheets for every single one of my videos. Inside, you will find deep journaling prompts and practical exercises that will help you untangle old beliefs and to also help you build an action plan so that you can start showing up as your highest self. The link to access these worksheets are down below in the description. This is the moment to take your power back, so let's dive in. Let's understand the root of external validation and why we believe we need it so bad. Have you ever noticed how often we look outside of ourselves for even a little bit, even a shred of reassurance? A like, a comment, a nod of approval, and sometimes we feel like we need it to breathe. But this need for external validation actually did not stem from social media, but it actually came from our childhoods. Do you remember when you were a child, how much you wanted to be liked, to be picked for a team, to get that gold star, to hear, good job, I'm so proud of you? And as children, we literally lived for these moments where we were doing good, where we were rewarded for our actions. It makes us feel really good. And this craving for external validation makes a lot of sense because as children, approval meant safety. It meant that we were doing something right. And honestly, when we stand out in school, when we're being a little bit quirkier than usual or a lot weirder than usual, we get made fun of. And it's actually really risky for us to be our authentic selves because we become so vulnerable to criticism. We get laughed at or we get bullied. And as children, we don't want to draw more attention to ourselves than needed. Then the pressure of blending in just became real. And that's why a lot of people become really lame after high school. They lose their creativity. They lose their sense of passion. They lose the light in their eyes because they were taught to blend in. We learned. We adapted. We ended up learning how to act, how to speak, and also what kind of clothes to wear so that we are the most accepted. And over time, this habit of seeking external validation became so deeply wired within us. And as we grew older, we shifted from wanting our parents' approval to having society's approval. We began living according to the expectations of they. You know, they say go to college. They say pursue accounting. They say get a stable job. They say not to dress like that. And slowly, without us even realizing it, we shape our choices around the hope that they'll one day like us, that they'll one day think we're amazing, that we're admirable, or whatever compliment we have the biggest insecurity around, to finally accept us, to finally approve of us. Because at the core of it all, we all just want to belong. And now, with social media around, This need for approval now has a new home. It's faster, shinier, and it's even more addictive. We're not collecting gold stars anymore. We're collecting likes, hearts, reactions, shares. These are tiny digital markers that are saying, hey, people like you. But the tricky part to all of this is that it never satisfies you. It doesn't satisfy anybody. You post something, it does well, it dies down, and then you do it all over again, and again, and again. It becomes so automatic. Every time you refresh your notifications for any DMs that came through or any comments that came through, we are so obsessed with how people perceive us and how essentially our profiles look in front of others. We're constantly checking, scrolling, refreshing, and if you've ever noticed how many times you've picked up your phone just to look at your notifications and to drop it back down, this is exactly the cycle that we're looking at here. This isn't fun and games anymore, and it's that every time you pick up that phone, your brain is unconsciously waiting for validation, waiting for someone to admire you, to validate you, and to say that you're worthy. If you stopped measuring your worth to someone else's response, when we're living in this place where we're always in this waiting room, waiting for life to happen to us, waiting for the comments to give us permission to go for what we want, we'll be waiting a long time. And as we continue to wait, the more we disconnect from our internal wisdom. We become dependent on people and things that were never meant to define us in the first place. So yeah, validation has started really early. It's reinforced by family, friends, society, teachers, and now the algorithm. But once you see it, once you understand where all of this is coming from, you can now start to make decisions that align with yourself rather than aligning with society's standards. Now, the next section is recognizing when you, specifically, have been seeking external validation. We all fall into what I like to call approval traps. These are subtle, but also some non-subtle ways where we rely on people's external validation to make choices in our lives that may or may not be in our best interest. And most of the time, we don't realize that we're doing this. But once you start spotting these patterns, it'll be so much easier to recognize, and you'll have awareness, and you'll be able to stop yourself next time you do this. So let's see if any of this sounds familiar. So the first thing is you make decisions based on what other people think. I have had so many friends tell me that they've always wanted to be influencers. They've always wanted to post content about fashion, about makeup, about things that they're passionate about. But I asked them, what's stopping you then? You're so knowledgeable in this area. You have obviously done the work and done the research, and you have so much to share to the world. And I believe that all of us do. But they were like, oh, I'm worried about my ex finding my channel. I'm worried about my friends finding my channel. I worry that people are going to laugh at me. And all of these reasons have been flooding their mind. And are you really going to let your ex define what kind of life you live? And sure, I know a lot of my friends probably think I'm cringe being on YouTube, but I don't care. I really don't care, because I am so much more fixated on the life that I'm going to create when this channel does make an impact on millions and millions of people, which hopefully will be my future. But I am not fixated on what my ex thinks, what my friends think, even though they were valid concerns when I first started my channel. We all have this invisible committee that is calling the shots around what kind of decisions we can make. Parents, exes, friends, teachers, people that bullied us, right? We carry a lot of residue from our past, and they end up defining our future. Another example is people choose to have kids because their parents want grandchildren, but it was never in their best interest to have kids, but they were essentially forced to have kids. Or maybe you've been called to do something more creative like writing or design, but your parents are telling you to pursue a career in law because it's lucrative and it's stable and there's always a huge demand for lawyers. And while we make decisions in the moment may seem tolerable, but as time goes on, when we have to essentially stick with the decisions that we make, especially in a career in law or having children, these are very long-term decisions. But if we allow people to make decisions for us, we're the ones who has to suffer the consequences. It's this constant pull to please this internal voice of they, whoever they are to you, the people that we've been taught to impress. The people who supposedly hold the rule book of how you should be living the most successful life. But when you're constantly living in approval, you slowly lose touch with your own. Another sign where you may be stuck in this approval trap is the need for constant reassurance and compliments. Do you ever share something hoping that the other person would respond, wow, that's amazing? Or maybe you noticed how deflated you felt when you didn't get that raise or promotion. It is so subtle, the way that we seek external validation. But when we're constantly checking our metaphorical and literal likes, we end up living in this place where I call the needy zone. We're waiting for permission to feel good about ourselves, and it is so exhausting. Now, the last sign where you may be stuck in an approval trap, you discount your own contributions and achievements. Now listen, I'm Asian, and a lot of Asians have been raised to keep our head down, to stay quiet, to work hard, and that's the recipe for success. We have been told our whole lives to not say a word about how well we're doing. We never toot our own horns. We never compliment ourselves. We never recognize that we're doing well. And it actually hurts us in the long term because we end up getting passed up for promotions. We don't stand up for what's right. We don't stand up for what we want. And yet we're waiting for external validation to validate that we're doing a good job when we've had that power all along. And this was something that I had to unlearn because in sales, you do have to toot your own horn. If you're selling your own services, if you're selling your own products, you have to be confident in what you have to offer. Also, when you're in interviews or when you're demanding a raise, you should stand up for what's yours. You should stand up for yourself and to fight for that raise, to fight for what you deserve. But we need to unlearn this. Seriously, it is biting us in the butt. This one is so sneaky, but it is so powerful and it is impacting our lives heavily. It's when you downplay your own value until someone recognizes you. Maybe you finish something meaningful, a project, a milestone, a goal. How often do you stop and actually celebrate your win? A lot of us don't. And instead, we celebrate in our minds for 1 minute and then we go back to thinking, what's the next goal? Oh, that wasn't a big deal, right? We essentially brush off our achievements like it's nothing. Some other examples are maybe you chalk up your success to timing and luck when it really was your skills, your effort, your grit that got you there. Maybe you're constantly comparing yourself to others until someone actually compliments on how beautiful you are. This is a major trap because the truth is, there's so much more value in what you are putting out and creating in the world than you give yourself credit for. And deep down, I think you know it too, but maybe you've just been conditioned and taught to not toot your horn, to not recognize that. And focusing too much on other people's strengths can make you forget your own. But when you start honoring and recognizing what you bring to the table, your confidence ends up building itself from the inside out. If you want to learn more about how to be the most confident version of yourself, even as an introvert, I highly recommend watching my video, How to Build Real Confidence, Self-Worth Hacks for Women to Beat Insecurities and to Glow Up. The third section is how to shift your mindset to start validating yourself. We are now going to shift from seeking external validation to starting to recognize our own worth from the inside. Because it's one thing to know all of the approval traps that you've been subjecting yourself to, but it's a whole other thing to start trusting yourself. And that's what this section is all about. Learning how to build your own internal compass and learning how to lean on your internal compass every single day. Here are 3 powerful shifts that you can start making today. The first thing is cultivating self-love and acceptance. You have got to love yourself, even if you don't feel like you deserve it. Because you need to recognize that you are a prize. Your presence, when you show up to a party, your presence is a prize. When you are showing up in front of a presentation, when you're presenting your case in front of the whole class, your presence is a prize. When you're on a date with somebody, and this is the first time meeting them, and you're super nervous, shift that mindset. You need to start seeing your presence as a prize. You showing up to that date is you taking your own precious time to meet up with this person. And here's another thing to know. No one ever hated themselves into something great. Self-criticism does not create self-confidence. It only chips away at it. What if instead of picking yourself apart, you tried saying, I accept everything that I have and I am so grateful for all the things that I have in my life. And I know that I'm not perfect, but what if this is already more than enough? Even just recognizing every day for things that you're grateful for about yourself and the kind of life you're living right now can really help you raise your vibration and really integrate a more self-assured presence. When you shift your tone, when you start playing on your own team, life actually becomes so much easier. When you're nice to yourself, you actually achieve so much more because you're not spending all of your energy fighting against yourself, but instead you're using that energy towards building things that you're passionate about, building businesses, or creating meaningful relationships in your life. It's so tiring to fight ourselves all the time, and criticism does not take you far at all. It not only feels better for you, but it also makes you so much more magnetic and so much more enjoyable to be around. The next thing to do is write a what I've got list. Sit down, grab a pen and piece of paper, and start writing down a list of things that are amazing about you. There's no need to be humble about this. This list is for you. What do you bring to the table that people often miss? Maybe you are incredibly empathetic. Maybe you are an amazing speaker. Maybe you are an amazing listener and people love opening up to you. Maybe you've got grit, humor, or a beautiful, calming presence. Maybe you've been through a lot and you still kept going. And that counts a lot more than you think. When you focus on what you've got, you stop obsessing over all the things that you're missing. And you stop comparing yourself to other people's highlight reels. Their jewels might shine, but there are diamonds in your pocket too. You've just been way too distracted to notice. And lastly, take full ownership of yourself. This might sting a bit at first, but it's going to make sense. Taking radical responsibility for your joy, success, freedom, happiness, all of that is within your own power. This is self-improvement. A lot of people like to blame others for their life right now. They blame their parents, they blame their teachers, they blame society, they blame the economy, and it's never their fault. But when we keep ourselves trapped in this cycle of blaming others, we don't have full ownership of our own life. And yes, sometimes it could be other people's problems, but when you're so fixated on them being the issue, you're not going to take proactive action to actually go and live out your dreams. When something's off in your life, ask yourself this question: what part of this is mine to own? When you're in a toxic relationship, it takes two to tango. That means that even if your ex was very toxic, you also played a role in that as well. Now, this is really looking from within and asking yourself, why am I attracting men like this? And what part of me doesn't feel deserving of a secure relationship? This also applies in business. If you're going through failure after failure, we need to start looking from within. What part of me doesn't believe I deserve to win? What part of me doesn't believe I deserve to have an amazing, successful business? As much as we are doing the work outside, we're taking action, we're taking initiative, we also need to look within and we need to start pulling out these weeds, these old beliefs about how life works. And we need to start with taking full ownership of our own life. And remember, what you are not changing, you're choosing. You are way more capable of changing your own life than you give yourself credit for. Now, the fourth section, we're going to be talking about how to detach from external validation. Now, here's the ugly truth. Not everyone's going to like you. And on top of that, not only is there someone out there who doesn't like you, but I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks you're a villain. And the moral of the story is you're always going to be a villain in someone else's story, whether you intentionally hurt them or if you didn't. But that's just the truth. You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And in fact, you don't even like everybody yourself. So why should you expect the world to like you? Trying to make sure that everyone approves of you is a never-ending game. You'll exhaust yourself bending over backwards, performing for others, and editing yourself so you could be accepted. And I remember when I used to date when I was in high school, I really wanted a boyfriend at the time, and I was going on a lot of dates. I actually had Tinder back in the day, and it was tough. I remember that every time I went on a date, I would be super nervous, but I would really try to change my personality so I can fit into a man's ideal woman. And at the time, I thought that being the most agreeable woman, or being the most flexible woman, or being the most bend over backward woman, or I would do everything for you woman, was the kind of girl that men wanted to date. But that is so the opposite. And I've learned that the hard way for sure. And I know that people who stand by their values, who actually know themselves on a deeper level, who aren't afraid to claim what they want, and who just aren't afraid to be themselves, those people are the types of people that get into fulfilling relationships. They have amazing friendships. They have opportunities that fall into their lap. Because the more true you are to your own values, you become way more detached from needing other people's external validation. And when you hold yourself at a higher regard, knowing that your values are so important, it no longer is a priority to try to please others. Now, what I'm asking you to do is to start shifting your attention inwards, to care more about your own self-approval, to find peace in knowing that what people think of you is not a fact at all. It's a reflection of their own insecurities and their own limiting beliefs and their own stories, and it has nothing to do with you. So when someone criticizes you, before you take it personally, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this about me? Or does this really have to do with how they feel about themselves and their own life? Is this really about me? Or is this the way that they process the world? And often what hurts the most isn't their words necessarily, but it is what those words mean to us. So when their words are especially triggering to us, there is a part within us that believes what they're saying. So when you do feel that triggering emotion, be curious of what that emotion is really trying to tell you. After you've journaled on and shown a bit more curiosity for these triggers, then you can shift into distancing yourself from those words. And a really powerful way to do this is ask yourself, so what? Someone doesn't like your outfit? So what? Someone thinks you failed? So what? You posted a video on TikTok and you haven't got any views or likes? So what? Someone posted a negative comment on your TikTok video? So what? People will often mirror how you treat yourself. If you shrug it off like it's nothing, people often feel that. They'll even respect you for that, even if they don't say it out loud. Most people wish they had the same permission to not care. Most people are actually way more worried about themselves. No one actually cares. And I feel like a lot of people post negative comments on Instagram and TikTok, not because they want to hurt you personally, but they're actually more concerned about the clout that they get. And you can see this with the number of likes that they get on their comment. People just want to shine the spotlight on themselves because they just don't have enough attention in their regular life that they need to post negative comments in order to feel good about themselves. So just go ahead, drop your shoulders, relax, be at ease, and know that no one cares. You're not here to be universally understood. You are here on this planet to be authentically you. And when you carry that lightness, when you accept the fact that you are human, people can feel it. When you are detached and you keep practicing the phrase, so what, you become so much more magnetic in a quiet and grounded manner. You finally stop needing to prove yourself, but you have this deep self-assurance that you are beautiful and you're amazing just the way that you are. And here's something else to consider as well. Be mindful of the feedback that you expose yourself to. You don't need to take everyone's comment, advice, opinion personally. Oftentimes, when I make the decision to either take someone's comment or advice personally, I like to look at their own life. Are they living successful lives? Do they have beautiful relationships in their own life? Are there aspects of their life that I personally admire? And if I do, then I would obviously honor the advice that they're giving me. But if you're casually taking everybody's advice to heart, everybody's opinions, everybody's comments, and you're not actually filtering out all of the advice based on what quality source it's coming from, then you are still seeking out external validation. So be selective with your energy. Protect your energy at all costs. Be selective with the voices that you accept in your own mind. Now, the last section is how to take action and level up. Now, let's get out of our heads and let's enter into the world and take action. The first thing to do is to embrace imperfection. How often do you wait for the perfect moment to take action? The perfect skills, the perfect business partner to take action? That perfect moment, that perfect thing you're waiting for will never come on its own. It's time to embrace imperfection and embrace that you're going to be new at things. You might make a fool out of yourself at first. And if you watch any of your favorite YouTubers' first videos, they're all pretty cringe. You know, they're a little awkward on camera. They don't really know what to say. They don't really know what to do with their hands. That every successful person in history has had some sort of embarrassing moment where they're starting something new. But them accepting their novelty, them accepting that they're new at something, didn't stop them from continuing on this journey. And that's how they became incredibly successful. Remember, good enough is good enough. Don't get bogged down on all the details or the fear of not getting it exactly right from the start. You don't have to get it right. Just begin. The key is to just get started and just let that carry you forward, because every small baby step that you're taking is momentum to build something greater, and that will snowball, and you will eventually learn smarter ways of doing things. You will eventually learn new tools, new skills as you are doing. When you're waiting for that moment of perfection, you probably will never begin, and you'll end up losing out on a lot of amazing opportunities along the way. The second thing is to say yes to opportunities. When a new opportunity comes your way, what's your first instinct? Do you hesitate, question your own abilities, or do you even say no right when that opportunity comes to you because you just don't feel ready? Let's shift that mindset, because every opportunity that comes your way is proof from the universe that you are ready one way or another. And that opportunity came to you for a reason. You are meant to grow from this. You are meant to learn and evolve as a human being from this opportunity. No one is born knowing the details to everything, and that it's these opportunities that allow us to take one step forward slowly. No one is born mastering a skill, and that all of us, including Warren Buffett, who is an extraordinary investor, also learned how to invest at one point in his life. Everything is figure-outable. Think of it this way. People achieve their goals simply because they are willing and brave enough to go for them, even without all the answers. They're just willing to learn and adapt and to bring themselves to that goal. Saying yes to life and figuring it all out on the way is the way to succeed. You need to stop underestimating yourself, because you actually have so much more power than you realize. The third point is overcoming your fear of rejection. When it comes to putting yourself out there, fear of rejection is a real fear. But what if we reframed rejection? What if rejection isn't as scary as we think it is? What if we started seeing rejection as a normal part of growth? What if it's not as personal as we think it is? What if the answer no is just nothing? It doesn't mean anything. It's simply a response. It's not a judgment on your own worth. Other people's actions, other people's judgments are usually a reflection of themselves, not about you. So it should give you a lot of peace that whatever response people are giving out, it's essentially a reflection of them. And if they say no, then it's not personal. The most confident people out there aren't immune to rejection. They're just the ones that are desensitized and know that rejection does not define their worth. And they keep moving forward and they keep continuing because they know that there's going to be a yes out there waiting for them. Remember, rejection is just a temporary feeling. And the more that you are exposed to rejection, the less likely it's going to impact you mentally. Now we have reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Your worth is already deeply within you. It already exists, and you don't need anyone in the world to tell you that you're worthy. When you stop seeking validation from others, you create space to finally step into your own truth, to trust yourself more, and to start building an amazing life for yourself. I know it's not easy, but it's really about taking steps every single day to shift your mindset and to shift your internal self-concept to start leading a life of self-validation. If you are ready to actualize this transformation, I highly recommend downloading my free worksheet with all the journaling prompts and practical exercises to dive deep into your limiting beliefs and to start taking action right away. The link is in the description below. I am so excited to see the evolution that is going to come out on the other end. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like this video because it will really help me push this video to more eyes so I can impact more people. And subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more about how to build your dream life and becoming the woman of your dreams. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!